Welcome to Conservative Voices Talking Points. I'm here with Gentry Collins, Eric Branstad, Rob Mudd. Thank you for joining us. Well, and Gentry talked about this, I believe, in the last episode, that free market will take care of it, right? Capitalism will take care of it, right? If you've got whether they're media companies or retail locations, whatever it might be, and they decide to pick an agenda, whatever that might be, right? Left, center, no matter
Biden
what.
Puts 4 more justices on the Supreme Court.
Well, what moves, I guess what I'm getting at is what moves power in our country? Well, I think it would be money, right? So you hear a lot of people saying it, put your money where your mouth is, or don't shop there, don't buy that product, or whatever it might be. There's 330 million people, despite the numbers that were thrown out
So in
last
that
week.
infrastructure bill, how much money is being allocated to paying for, or to these corporations, electric, right? Electric batteries are really expensive. The government, federal government, is going to subsidize. How much of that budget goes to subsidization of cost to industry, right? That they choose and pick.
Well, part of this, if you read, which I don't know how many of us have the time to read the thousands of pages in these bills before they're voted on, but
2,700 pages.
Good grief. Part of it is to have, 50% of new automobiles sold by 2030 to be electric only. And is that infrastructure?
No.
To your point, is that
No,
social?
it's being propagated by the Chinese.
Right.
The Chinese is, I believe, what is moving everything on the Democratic side is their power and what they want to subject us to. Because why would we were energy independent. That's what we always wanted. And then we became it. And then we became energy dependent.
Overnight.
With the stroke of a pen by Obama or by Biden. Now, this goes way back, because General Motors just doesn't decide one day, hey, we're going to change our platform and go electric. This decision was made 10 years ago. And who was in office then? Obama, right? So, go back to where the money is. And if you go to China, they got a lot of it, and we're pulling the strings on all of it. It doesn't make sense for the United States, if you're energy dependent, to go to electric vehicles.
I'm not smart enough to know, I'm not an engineer, but anybody want to touch on the amount of energy and natural resources that go into building these batteries that go into electric vehicles? I mean, have you read about this? It's a crazy amount of energy.
When you do the side-by-side comparison, and as you guys know, and I've always been a renewable, especially in Iowa, renewable fuels proponent, because I see and I've studied all of the benefits that it brings. And if you look at over just the last 30 years, how efficient biofuels have become. And now when we're looking at this carbon sequestration, being able to make it a potential carbon negative, when they're already almost at an equal playing field versus the energy comes from somewhere. Electric cars don't emit the same as an oil consuming car, but it's gotten to be where they're almost equal now. So what's the next thing that we're going to have to do? And when we look at I suffered. We went through the derecho last year. I didn't have power for 4 days. Mm-hmm. I need to drive my kids to school. I need to drive my kids to get food. I mean, all these things to all of a sudden to just make that blanket type, mandate on all of us to use electric vehicles. It makes absolutely no sense. It's anti-American, and we've got technologies that with biofuels that make us carbon negative. That's the ultimate.
Right.
So, it's hard for me to watch.
And when you know what comprises electric batteries, is rare earth. Who controls 97% of rare earth? The Chinese. And so for anybody to say that isn't an influence on our economy, they're lying, and people aren't talking about it.
Yeah, supply chain.
China.
We're dealing with the supply chain stuff. I'm dealing with it for several different clients right now, and it's we certainly see that. The tennis shoes that I want to buy, I can't buy because they're unavailable. It's that way with 100 other different products.
I read an article that with electric vehicles that they will put a surcharge on the mileage that you drive. Well, how will they, talk about big brother. Cell phones are bad enough, but when they start to mine your data on how you travel and where you travel, and when you do it, and everything that you do in that vehicle becomes part of data of the state.
The excuse that they'll use to get that is that the gas tax no longer works to fund infrastructure, right? Is the claim they'll make. But once they have that data, right, God only knows what else they do with it.
Right. And that's the power grab that they're looking to go after.
Right.
And when you can predict people's behavior, isn't that the ultimate? To predict what someone's going to do before they do it and bet on it. So I think that's the business of the government today.
Yeah. Well, we've covered a couple of major topics.